Trump's second inauguration.
Oh, yeah.
Biden making some really big last-minute decisions, and even the Supreme Court weighing in on TikTok, all happening right now, January 17, 2025.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So our mission today is to help you sift through all this and see how these events connect to paint the bigger picture.
I like that.
So where should we even begin?
Well, I think the inauguration is a good place to start.
Okay. Trump's second term kicks off on January 20th.
That's right.
But this inauguration is shaping up to be anything but ordinary.
You can say that again?
So first of all, the weather, the freezing temperatures are forcing them to move the whole thing indoors.
Yes, to the Capitol Rotunda.
To the Capitol Rotunda. Do you remember when Reagan had to move his second inauguration inside because it was so cold?
Oh, yeah. History repeating itself.
It's like we're watching history repeat itself, but with a very chilly twist. And then, to make things even more interesting, Trump's decided to have a huge party at Capital One Arena after the official ceremony.
You mean like a victory lap?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a giant victory lap with a live viewing party and a presidential parade.
He's going all out.
Definitely going all out. But you know what's really got people talking?
What's that?
The entertainment lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, the Village People.
Seriously?
I'm not kidding. YMCA at a Trump inauguration.
What?
It's like the ultimate irony.
That's an interesting choice.
It's definitely a choice.
Yeah.
The band even addressed it on Facebook.
What'd they say?
They said they believe music can bring people together despite their political differences.
I guess we'll see.
Right? Is it a genuine attempt at unity or just a clever PR move?
Good question.
And the Village People aren't the only ones performing.
Yeah.
We've also got Carrie Underwood singing America the Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
And then Lee Greenwood and Christopher Macchio, both Trump favorites.
Interesting.
It's a mix of classic Americana and, I guess you could say, Trump's personal playlist.
Yeah.
What do you make of this musical tapestry?
Well, it seems like he's trying to appeal to a broad audience. You know, his base and those looking for a more traditional ceremony.
It's a balancing act for sure.
For sure. But while all this pomp and circumstance is being planned, outgoing President Biden isn't exactly fading into the background.
You're telling me he's making some pretty bold moves in his final days.
He is.
And it's adding fuel to the fire.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's talk about his statement on the Equal Rights Amendment.
All right.
He just declared it officially ratified and part of the Constitution.
Wow.
Talk about a bombshell.
Yeah, that could set off a massive legal battle.
Absolutely. The ERA has been controversial for decades, with arguments about deadlines and legal procedures and all sorts of complications.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. But Biden's basically forcing the incoming administration to deal with it head on. Wow. So is this a power play or a genuine push for equality?
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
But it definitely adds another layer of complexity to an already tense political situation.
No kidding. And then there's the TikTok saga.
Oh, yeah.
Biden's decision not to enforce the ban right before leaving office.
That's a big one.
It's like he's leaving a ticking time bomb for Trump.
Right.
Okay, so as a reminder, the ban was supposed to go into effect January 19th.
2 days from now.
2 days from now. And it required TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to divest. But now with Biden stepping back, the decision falls squarely on Trump's shoulders.
And that puts him in a tough spot.
It does, especially considering his history with TikTok.
Yeah, he's been all over the place on that one.
First he called for a ban, then he softened his stance. Then he even joined TikTok during his campaign.
It's been a wild ride.
A total roller coaster.
Yeah.
And now to make things even more interesting, the TikTok CEO, Shou Zichu, is going to be front and center at the inauguration.
Really?
Right alongside tech giants like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg.
That's interesting.
It is. What do you think it means?
Well, it could suggest that the incoming administration is open to some kind of compromise.
Okay.
Maybe a more nuanced approach to the whole TikTok situation.
So maybe there's hope for TikTok yet.
Maybe.
But there's one more twist to this story.
Oh, what now?
And this one is a real game changer.
Oh, boy.
The Supreme Court just issued a major ruling on TikTok.
They did?
And it happened today, January 17th. The very day we're recording this.
What'd they say?
In a unanimous decision, they upheld the federal law banning TikTok.
Wow.
Unless ByteDance divests.
So no more TikTok unless they sell.
That's right. The court's reasoning focused heavily on national security concerns.
Right. China having access to all that user data.
Exactly. They said there's a real risk that the Chinese government could get its hands on the data of millions of American TikTok users.
That's a huge concern.
It is, and it raises some fundamental questions about the balance between national security and freedom of expression in this digital age.
It does. The justices even acknowledge that TikTok is an important platform for free speech for millions of Americans.
Yeah.
But they also said that the potential for the Chinese government to access that data is just too big a risk to ignore.
So it's a tough call. A real dilemma.
A real dilemma.
So here we are with a presidential inauguration, featuring some very unexpected entertainment choices.
Yeah, that's for sure.
An outgoing president making some bold final moves, and a landmark Supreme Court ruling that could reshape the digital world as we know it.
This is big.
It's big. These events might seem separate at first glance,
Right?
but they're all converging at a critical moment in American history.
You got that right.
And the next few days and weeks are going to be full of anticipation, debate, and probably some twists and turns we can't even imagine yet.
Buckle up.
Buckle up indeed.
Yeah.
So stay tuned as we delve deeper into this whirlwind of events and explore what it all means for you.
It's going to be good.
You know, this whole TikTok thing, it really makes you think about the bigger picture. Like, how are governments all over the world supposed to handle these huge social media platforms?
Especially the ones with ties to other countries.
Yeah, it's like a global tug of war.
Totally. Between innovation, security, and free speech.
Exactly. We've been worried about data privacy and misinformation and foreign influence for a while now.
Uh-huh. And this Supreme Court ruling, it could change everything.
It could set a precedent for how governments regulate the internet in the future.
Right. Imagine a world where governments can just shut down any website or app they don't like.
It's a scary thought.
It is. We're basically trying to write the rule book for the digital age.
And the stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah. This case could determine how much power governments have over what we see and say online.
So where do we draw the line? How do we balance security with freedom?
That's the million-dollar question.
What do you think?
Well, I think we need to be having these conversations now.
Right now.
Before it's too late. We need to figure out how to protect our rights in the digital world.
Absolutely. Okay, so speaking of protecting rights, let's circle back to Biden's move on the Equal Rights Amendment,
Okay.
declaring it officially part of the Constitution.
Wow.
Even with all those legal challenges.
It's not backing down.
Not at all.
Uh,
It's like he's throwing down a gauntlet for the next administration.
it definitely adds fuel to the fire.
For sure. So for those who haven't been following this saga for decades,
Right.
the ERA has been a long and complicated battle.
Wow.
And this latest development just throws a whole new wrench into the works.
It does.
It all comes down to the question of the ratification deadline,
Okay.
which was back in 1982.
Right.
Some experts say any ratifications after that date are invalid.
Uh-huh.
Others argue that the deadline was arbitrary and can be ignored.
It's a constitutional mess.
It is. And to make matters even more complicated,
What down?
the Archivist of the United States...
The one who's supposed to certify amendments.
Exactly. He's already said the ERA can't be certified
Oh, wow.
because of all the legal and procedural roadblocks.
So what's Biden doing?
He's basically saying, I believe it's ratified, so it's the law of the land. It's a direct challenge to the established process.
So this could end up in court.
Oh, absolutely. It could be a showdown between the executive branch and the judicial branch.
Wow.
So what do you think? Is Biden a champion for equality, or is he overstepping his authority?
Tough to say.
It is.
Yeah.
There are valid arguments on both sides.
Yeah. On one hand, he's fighting for something that's long overdue.
Equal rights for women.
Exactly. But on the other hand, he's kind of going rogue.
Ignoring the rules.
Right. It's a complicated situation.
Very complicated. And it shows how even in the final days of a presidency,
Yeah.
there's still room for some serious political maneuvering.
Like a final act power play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's zoom out for a minute and think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
What does all of this tell us about the future of America?
Well, it seems like we're at a crossroads.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to navigate this new digital world, where the lines between technology, national security, and individual rights are getting blurrier and blurrier.
The TikTok situation is a perfect example.
It really is.
It's forcing us to ask some tough questions about the limits of government power in the digital age.
And those questions aren't going away anytime soon.
No, they're not. And then you've got the ERA debate,
Right.
which shows that the fight for gender equality is far from over.
Sadly.
These issues are going to continue to divide us.
Especially as the political landscape continues to shift.
It feels like we're living in a time of rapid change and uncertainty.
Yeah, the old rules don't seem to apply anymore.
And the future's up for grabs.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
You're right.
Within all this uncertainty, there's also opportunity.
Opportunity to what?
To shape the future, to fight for a better world, to redefine what it means to be American in this new digital age.
I like that.
It all comes down to how we choose to respond to these challenges.
And that's what we're here to do.
To help you understand these complex issues.
And to empower you to make informed decisions about the future you want to create. It's a lot to take in, right?
Oh, it is.
Presidential inaugurations, legal battles, social media showdowns, the fight for equality.
Yeah, it's like every headline is a new plot twist.
Exactly. It's almost overwhelming.
It can be, but that's why we're here.
To break it down.
Not make sense of it all.
To figure out what it all means for us.
Right, because it's not just about watching the news unfold.
It's about understanding how it affects our lives.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into January 17, 2025, what are some key takeaways for our listener?
Good question. What do you think people should remember?
Well, first of all, don't just scroll past the headlines.
Okay.
Be an active participant in what's happening.
What do you mean?
I mean, think critically about the information you're seeing.
Right.
Dig a little deeper. Seek out different perspectives. Form your own opinions.
Don't just accept everything at face value.
Exactly. Don't let the algorithms and echo chambers do your thinking for you.
It's so easy to get caught up in the outrage cycle.
It is. But we need to be more than just consumers of news.
We need to be critical thinkers.
Right. Engaged citizens.
Active participants in shaping the world around us.
Exactly. And that's where your voice comes in.
Okay, how can people make their voices heard?
Well, you can vote.
Of course.
You can talk to your friends and family about these issues.
Have those tough conversations.
Yeah. You can contact your elected officials.
There are so many ways to get involved.
There are. And don't underestimate the power of your individual actions.
Even small things can make a difference.
They can. And remember, change takes time.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. It requires persistence, patience, and a willingness to listen to those who disagree with you.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in our own bubbles.
It is. But we need to break out of those bubbles and engage with people who see the world differently.
Because that's how we learn and grow.
Exactly. So as we look back on these events,
The inauguration, the ERA,
Yeah.
the TikTok ruling, it's clear that we're living through a really pivotal moment in history.
we are. And it's not always pretty,
It's messy and complicated.
but it's also exciting.
Exciting.
Because we have the chance to shape the future.
To create a world that's more just and equitable.
To redefine what it means to be American in this digital age.
So how do we do that?
By staying engaged. By staying informed. By having those tough conversations.
By not being afraid to speak up.
Exactly. And by remembering that we're all in this together.
That's a great message to end on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into January 17, 2025.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. And who knows what the future holds.
Only time will tell.
But one thing's for sure,
What's that?
it's going to be interesting.
You got that right.
So stay curious, stay engaged, and keep exploring.
That's the best advice I can give.
And until next time, keep those headlines coming.
We'll be here to break it all down.